Okay, you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, so I'm here with Stefni, who's a bespoke jeweler who also happens to be my sister, and we are here visiting on our holiday in South Africa from Switzerland. And I thought it would be a good chance to just quickly catch up and actually invite her on the yet to be launched podcast, because I think. Like I mentioned in my original podcast introduction, for me it's about sharing things that I think are cool or interesting and that people are doing that add a lot of value to the surrounding, immediate surrounding region, and just some cool interesting stuff. And Steffi makes jewelry by hand, but maybe she can tell us a bit more about that in a moment. That is actually that. So this podcast is also unedited, so it's going to be quite raw and real. So let's get into it. So Stefni, tell us quickly, just give us a quick intro about yourself. What do you do?
I am a, so to say, manufacturing jeweler, but not in the sense that I just make jewelry on large scale. It's all about finding people who want to walk a journey with me and create pieces that basically tell their story. And I work in a complete array of metals and mediums, found objects, and gold, silver, copper, anything really that is interesting and that speaks to the client.
Okay, cool. So taking a step back from that quickly, why jewelry?
That's a good question. I think I'm still figuring out why jewelry. Creating in general is something quite personal in the sense of through creating, I'm getting an opportunity to understand more about myself. So making things with my hands helps me process life in general. So, also, going back in time, jewelry has a very big language in the sense of in different tribes and cultures, it is worn for different seasons in one's life. And I think through making jewelry, I'm figuring out my own different seasons. So as personal as it is, I think I wanted to share making things from scratch with people because it feels like such a purpose-driven journey.
Okay, interesting. And so you would say that it's also a way of expressing how you feel.
Very much so. I think often when life is wobbly, uncertain, or big decisions loom, I will step into the studio and create things, not necessarily for the shelves to sell or for a client, but just to literally ground myself and basically get to an answer. So I guess, jewelry and creating is definitely a way to process and navigate my own feelings in a more wholesome way than other avenues.
Okay.
Yeah.
But why not something like music?
Say again?
Why not something like music?
Oh, if you've seen me play a musical instrument, you would not be anywhere near the shop.
Okay, fair enough. So jewelry is your process of understanding yourself, the world around you, life, and then the finished pieces that are hanging in your studio are an expression of that people can then buy for themselves or
resonate with, or it's sometimes interesting to make such personal pieces because it doesn't necessarily resonate, because it's such a personal process, it doesn't necessarily resonate with a majority of people. So you do end up with quite a niche market, but also it's hard to separate if it's your personal process, but also your livelihood.
Yeah.
But
Okay. And maybe we can do that question. No, we can do it now. So you speak about jewelry being your process, and So the type of jewelry that you typically make, is that like you would see in what is the jewelry sounds famous? I didn't even know jewelry store. Like silver.
The only thing that comes to mind is, yes, I don't even know.
Like what people would expect when you say jewelry, like shiny gold and silver earrings or rings, or is it something
completely different?
Something else.
Yeah, it's not. Let's start with like just the word jewelry is quite. I think the first thing that people go to is when you hear jewelry is gold and diamonds. We've just been not conditioned, but yes, gold and diamonds. But I don't make anything gold or diamond related unless it is family jewelry that's been in the family for ages and we can remelt or remake. But so yeah, no, I don't like supporting the mining industry necessarily. So my work actually veers off to very much. So if I go to the mountains for a climbing trip, for instance, then I would take a sketchbook, I would take my writing pad, and I would take my pencils with colors, and I would actually sketch and draw my process as I go along, as the silhouettes of the mountains inspire me, or the color of the fynbos. And then those elements are brought back to the studio, and then literal pieces are made from those elements. So it would involve thread, it would involve brass, it would involve maybe even some printing of the fynbos leaf into the metal. So there's like, and every process is different. So it's hard to like combine and say my jewelry is only made from this. It really does get determined by the adventure we go on, I suppose.
Okay. Hold on to that thought for a moment.
Yes.
Yeah, still recording. Just watching. Oh, while I'm. Yeah, so you can see a little bit of the natural pieces just at the top of the frame there. But you mentioned now your jewelry. Yeah, it's not made from what someone would typically expect. Jewelry is made from, when speaking in the traditional sense, gold, diamond, silver. It's more natural materials and incorporating things from the natural environment. But you've also done some other types of processes. Is there anything that you find particularly that you go back to, that you often use, or often use for inspiration?
Define process?
The way that you come up with a design, or with a
yes. So my favorite thing to do is not have to go back to a certain design or a process.
So every time it's a unique.
So every time it's a unique.
Process essentially to get to the end result.
Yes, I think that's what keeps me interested and intrigued in the making of the jewelry. I think
it's not just a mold, that, like the same earring, the same bracelet over and over again. So
basically, I don't think I don't so much look at the end vision. It's the process or the how behind something that excites me and intrigues me. So if a client comes and they go, I want this, and this is the thing, and I'm like, and I have no clue how to make it, I'm likely to say, yes, let's do this. And then I have to figure it out as I go along. If someone comes and goes, I want 50 of something, then I'm like, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the processes that I do go back to is if again, it's so personal. I think if I find that I resonate with a certain ring quite a lot, then I'll bring in, at some point I'll make 10 of them, but then it'll take me 3 years again to make another 10. But yeah, I guess the process that I use most is literally just making everything from scratch, literally. I don't like using other like molds or castings or things that needs to.
And each piece is tailored to the person who.
Yeah, very much so.
Who would on a commission basis, if someone comes to you to make a piece of jewelry, it's tailored to them specifically. And the pieces hanging here in your studio.
These pieces all very much have a adventure behind them in a way. Okay. I mean, just looking at what I can see, there are a few brass pieces there with thread of like mountain silhouettes threaded in them, and that was we went to Montague for a climbing trip, and then that's what came about. And then the shells are from when I lived on the Namakwa West Coast.
Yeah, so each piece has a little backstory.
Yeah, a little
makes it a bit more,
backstory to them. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just what's the word? An anonymous piece of jewelry.
No.
Yeah, there's a bit more meaning to it. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say that just coming back to the personal process of making jewelry, or how I navigate and process my emotions.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. I think through wanting to establish my own voice in the world, my pieces have a story, or the desire to be known, or for someone to be curious enough about my story to ask. That's I think why I make jewelry pieces with stories. It's very entwined. I can't, like I said, I can't separate myself from my jewelry. Every now and then I think maybe it's too personal and I should branch out a bit. But yeah, or I shouldn't have commercialized, but who knows? You learn as you go along.
Yeah, I mean, all of us need to earn a
And
living.
somehow put a roof over our heads, right?
So why should someone buy one of these jewelry pieces? There's no right or wrong answers.
I think if I can draw on an example of once upon a time I had an exhibition with storytelling pieces alongside a photographer, and someone came in to view the exhibition and they saw a piece and they bought it, and they said to me, they pulled me aside and they said to me, this piece is something that's going to help me be more true to myself. It's the reminder of that I have a voice, that I matter, and that I can actually step into the world and stand strong as my own self. I don't have to be someone else.
Because they identified with the story behind it?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wow. So that you have those little nuggets all along the way that make you feel like you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So why should someone wear? I think if it's a reminder for personal growth, then it's pretty spot on, and then it's definitely worth buying a piece.
Okay, so once they bought it, why? And then they should wear it as an expression of that, or as a reminder to themselves of that. I mean, I'm a guy. I don't really identify with why people. It's
The only way I can say is my own way of wearing jewelry is it's not an everyday thing. It's very much a feeling. It sounds so wafty, but it really is. It's like I really believe strongly that you have to feel your way through life. We don't always have time because life is fast and it's going at a really rapid pace. But if you can feel your way through life, and in moments where you either have to decide that someone else's needs are important or your needs are important, and making that decision, or growing in wisdom to make those decisions, and buying these jewelry pieces as a reminder, even if you're wearing it and you touch it in that decision making process, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, yes, it's okay, I can choose myself, or whatever the message or the reminder is. But also just as you can wear it as a statement piece also if you felt like it. There are some bigger pieces around.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And you mentioned going on a lot of adventures, and I mean we both grew up surfing together. So do you want to maybe elaborate a bit on how surfing, what type of influence surfing has on your jewelry making process, or on your life, or?
She's been such a big part of my life. I don't think I can live far from the ocean.
I mean, the ocean is just
literally. You can throw a stone that way.
Sorry.
It feels like surfing is like an extra limb in my life. It's not even just, it's become a proper functional part of who I am. I think after a really tough week in studio, being in the ocean, and it doesn't have to be big waves necessarily, actually preferably not, just when the ocean's calm and small waves, and you can have a laugh and a real relaxed time. The ocean's definitely a place where I go to be reminded to play, to be a kid, life is so serious most of the time, and we have to adult so hard. So when I get to spend time in the ocean, it reminds me to not carry so much and be a kid, I guess.
Yeah, to feel that energy and.
And also the movement. If you think about the ocean, is never the same every time you go there, and every wave you surf. So I mean, life is also never the same. So it's also like a metaphor for just, if the wave comes, just surf it or don't, or duck dive or turtle roll or whatever. Great metaphor for life.
Yeah.
And also just being near the ocean. It doesn't have to be in it or surfing big waves or just.
No, yeah, I mean,
the water element is very.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I find the most fun you have is when you're surfing longboards and tiny waves.
Yes, exactly, knee-high waves.
Because,
it's the best.
well, one, it's fun, and two, most other people don't bother coming out because they want to surf performance shortboards and they can't surf.
Those are the waves that you do paddle out on when there's no one out and people are like, oh, it doesn't look great. And then you're like, yep, it's perfect.
Yeah. So I'm just checking if my wife and son are okay on the playground there. But I haven't seen anyone screaming. Okay. So we can carry on for a bit, if my nose will allow us. Okay, yeah, cool. Let me just find my train of thought again quickly. And currently you are based here in Scarborough, south of Cape Town, with your studio here at, what is this called?
The Village Hub.
The Village Hub in Scarborough, so you guys can come and check it out if you want.
It's a long scenic drive, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. Really worth it. And there's a great playground if you've got little kids across the road.
Something for everyone.
Yeah. So with the jewelry, is there any? What was the question? I forgot what I wanted to ask now. Oh, let's see. Okay, let's carry on with this then. While I'm thinking of what I wanted to ask originally. So we spoke about why someone should buy something. Not that everyone should, but why would someone buy? Or maybe actually we answered this in the previous question. As I'm reading the question, what would you want someone to experience and take away from owning some of your jewelry? But I think you actually addressed that with. Or do you want to quickly just elaborate that on again? Give me a chance to think of what I wanted to ask.
Look, in the jewelry industry, it's hard. I don't want to say it's hard to establish yourself as a bespoke jeweler. I think especially in Cape Town, because brass and silver or gold and silver really sell well. I make everything but pieces that sell well. It's more of an experience, I guess. So I think to be honest and be all like, all about the feels this morning. I think I go through life feeling things very deeply, and I used to think it's such a curse. But through the jewelry, I hope other people would be brave enough to tap into feeling deeply going through life. And I think if I can make you feel something similar to art, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's not the sole purpose of making jewelry, but it's to see someone's experience when something does make them feel something. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Okay.
So,
no.
Yeah.
Good answer. You mentioned, to experience something that you don't make. I think we touched on it right in the beginning, that you don't make the typical gold, silver jewelry. You also repurpose a lot of things that you find, and you've actually not presented, but you've actually done that up in Malawi, I believe.
That was.
Do you want to tell us about that? To make jewelry from things that you find around the house or around the trail?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going trail running with me is an utter nightmare. I take a backpack not for water, but for things.
Yeah, I think it'd also be a good a way to highlight or to illustrate how jewelry is not necessarily gold, silver, or diamonds. It's actually, it can mean so much more than that, and you can make it from very simple things.
So the Malawi mission, it was, sure, I'm going to try to keep it short. It was a 6-week project that I needed to like figure out a curriculum for, and literally the brief was come over and share with the community your skills, or figure out how to leave a skill with a base of the locals' skills already. So basically collaborating between my skills and a culture who also has amazing skills. I think I always end up learning more than what I went to teach. And I went there with nothing. Like literally, I said we're going to make jewelry with whatever is there. Because if you think about it, if you leave a skill, if you take all of these tools to a place in a village that doesn't have any, and you have to get there by foot, boat, and plane, how are they going to get the tools
when they need more?
Yeah. Again, so I come there and I make with tools, and then I leave with my tools, and then what are they going to make jewelry with? So, I was there for 6 weeks and stayed in the village I worked with about 30 women, which was absolutely incredible. When I arrived there, they were like, they had a giggle because it's like, this white lady is going to teach us how to make jewelry. And I was like, no, actually, we're all going to teach each other how to make something. It might not even be jewelry. But I went a week early to basically just to scout what materials we could use. And I realized that clay was a big, every single woman around their house had clay. So we could use clay as a base. And then we used seed pods that basically, or anything that like was on the ground, but that at that time of year was available naturally in the world. And it's like basically the seed pods fall off the tree. So we're going to use that.
So you're not picking things from the tree?
Not picking things off the tree.
Anything that's natural.
Anything that's natural on the ground. And then also
so it's sustainable.
Yes, that was basically the main thing, sustainability. I think we often think we need to buy things in order to have what we need, but we actually have everything we already need in order to make something. We don't need to buy stuff and set up everything before we can manufacture things. And also they have amazing skills with making clay pots for their kitchens. They basically make all their water carriers and their pots and things in their house with clay. So they already knew how to make clay, and they knew how to fire the pots in the sand, also incredibly natural way. So we used all their processes, but then we just made the process really small and made beads from the clay, and we fired them in the sand on the lake on Lake Malawi, put the fire in there, let the beads overnight. Every single process was literally just by hand, no machinery, and we came out with an incredible range of beads and things that the woman could sell and keep on making when I left.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And it's something you enjoyed?
I think it was the best 6 weeks of my jewelry career. She says while sitting in her shop at Scarborough.
Okay, so so a special experience.
Yeah, very special. I think mainly because working with a community of women who we had their customs determine their life,
and the environment.
I think here in the West, if I can call this the West, but like our customs aren't so strong anymore. We have we have customs, but they're different.
Yeah.
So slotting in the morning before work, you clean the workspace. When all of us did, 30 women there cleaning the workspace. Then at 10. The women already from 9 o'clock has got the tea on the fire. They've made fire already. The beans are cooking on the other side. So everything evolves around the customs, and in between you make the beads. But the fire's going, the tea's going, everything's being prepared. So the main priority is community and togetherness, and then we weave the work into that, and that just somehow makes real sense. We do it differently here.
Yeah, sometimes it feels a bit more forced here.
Very much so.
In the modern model.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's interesting. seeing the differences, which is, I think, also for me, traveling is also always interesting to see the different cultures. Not to take my culture there, but to experience that culture, which is why I go there.
Another culture, for sure.
Sorry, my nose is really, I don't know, not good. That sounds like it was a really, really cool experience. So do you think you could do something similar around your house, around if someone was in Tokai or in the City Bowl in Cape Town?
Yeah, like offer them a similar experience.
Or find stuff, or definitely. I don't know what you would do. You're the expert. You can tell me. Sorry, just carry on or just pause for a moment. I'll hold that thought. I just double check every now and again because it'd be sad if for some reason the camera stops recording.
Yes, I do. I think it would be an incredible experience.
Yeah, and I don't think you'll be able to make fire.
We won't be able to sit in the living room and make fire.
Especially if you live in a wooden house, but you can try that once, I suppose.
There are fire extinguishers, we're fine. I think you can what do you call it? Curate or you can curate or cultivate the process to fit the City Bowl. I mean, that's actually quite nice because then you slot into those customs or the person's lifestyle or, like something. I never feel like creating should be something that you force. It should be something that comes very effortlessly. And the more we can effortlessly fit it into our daily life, the more it enriches us actually. But yeah, you could. It would be incredible. I just don't know. Look, in Africa, I know we're part of Africa, but in Malawi and those kind of places, they really go slow, They have time to sit and have tea for an hour, and they have time to do the washing by hand. I don't know where they find the time because it's the same clock. But we just seem to not, I don't know. We'd have to fit it into the process that would have to be really tight, but it is possible. I mean, that would be a great challenge to go anywhere and go. I think a great idea would be to say, okay, you get dropped off somewhere in the city, and at the end of the day, have stuff together to make a range of jewellery with, and that's it. Yeah, it would be pretty big. Or
maybe people can come together and just bring whatever they think can work. For sure.
Yes, and work with what they think could do, what they were drawn to.
Yeah, because I find sometimes you have things and you don't realize what you can do with it until someone with the expertise or with that experience can show you what you can do with it. And it's
absolutely true. I think that's really some of what the jewelry basics should or is in my process definitely based on. And
so while I have that thought, so this process or this your process of making jewelry, is that something that they teach at university or?
The way I approach the jewelry process, or?
Yeah, you're the process that you've developed now, or is it?
No. I actually really struggled at university. It was probably 4 of the hardest years of my life, but I didn't feel confident enough to step out of that system and go do something else. And I thought, imagine you had to return to university, I would die. So I'd rather just do it in one shot and get it over with. But in hindsight, even though I didn't enjoy it then, I'm so grateful for the freedom it allows me now. But at university, it was very technical. It was very 90 degrees. I was always slow. My projects were always handed in very late because I couldn't get it done in time. I was always last in class. It was
And was the focus a lot more on the traditional type of jewelry? Or? No,
it was very much. So, I mean, they teach you. So, in the 4 years, you only really start specializing in the 4th year. So, you do jewelry throughout the 4 years that you're there, but then you really zone into jewelry making in 3rd and 4th year. But in that process, you learn how to set a stone. But you only learn how to set a stone the right way to set a stone. And then only afterwards, after many years of experimenting by yourself and setting stones really shit, then you realize there are other ways to set stones, and then you can start being creative. But I guess there's a lot to fit into a 4-year process or 4-year jewelry degree.
Yeah, I suppose. But maybe they can teach you the right way, but then also that there's a bit of leeway. I mean, the people teaching also have some life experience and some, one would think, or some jewelry making experience.
I know. I experienced it very. It was a very limiting course, but then again, I probably, if they didn't do it that way, I wouldn't have left with the skills that I have now.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a waste. You do pick up a lot of
definitely
skills.
not.
But then, I mean, this also highlights the importance of actually going out and doing the thing that you want to do, because that's where you gain the experience and the life experience to, you do this and you realize, oh, it's not working, but I learned some things and I'm going to apply this to the next thing I'm going to try. So failing is not actually failing, it's just learning along the way.
Actually, putting little nuggets of experience in your
which is why some people call it failing forward.
Yeah, I love that. I've done some many years of failing forward.
Slowly failing forward.
Yeah, definitely slowly.
And so I've lost my other question again. I should have made more physical notes.
Slowly failing
Wait,
forward.
it's going to come back to me now. It's going to come back to me now. Give me a moment. Let me look at something here. Oh no. Okay. While I see,
we can edit this out.
Yeah. No, I said I'm not going to. So currently you're here in Scarborough, but you've been quite a few places before. Why here at the moment?
I think because of I don't want to say the mountains, but the natural, the nature around me is very close. Like after a day of work, I could just hop into my running clothes and do a loop on the mountain out the back here, or just walk down the beach and go for a quick wave. And so I guess it's lifestyle supported in a way. So you get work done, you get a full day of work done, but you can also get a full injection of nature time. Which is very important to balance things out for me, for the work-life balance, I suppose. I don't think I plan to be in Scarborough many years ahead of time, I think, but having arrived in Cape Town and staying in Musenberg for a few years, and then found a place out towards the Cape Point Reserve, just felt more... less hustle and bustle and more like calming to the nervous system.
More in nature.
Yes, very important element of life,
Well, not my son. Do you have any specific jewelry ranges that you're working on, or is it mostly client work at the moment?
At the moment, at the moment more commission work. It fluctuates though. There are stages where no one orders anything, and then you can sit down and do some jewelry work, ranges related. But I find that I can't do both. I'm either really immersed in the commission-based work because it's such a personal process with my clients. Like we talk a lot in order to figure out what works, what doesn't, then the design process. So the time it takes to do commission work, then I don't do any planning for range work at all. I actually haven't brought out a range in a long time. The pieces on the shelves here have literally been, having only opened the shop 2 months ago, they were all in boxes and things. So
that you've made before. Okay. So speaking of clients and communication, you want to quickly talk us through your, let's say someone comes to you, or why would someone come, what does your typical client look like and what's your typical process to make a piece from start to finish? So would someone come to you and say, I need a necklace, or I need like a wedding ring, or a...
It's can be any. I've had a few wedding rings, but so basically someone would come to me and they're like, oh, I've heard of you through this person, or they just pop into the shop and they're like, hey, you make stuff. And then I would do a consultation. So
which would be, now would be here in the studio, or would be
mostly
at the
here in the
coffee shop
studio.
next door? Or?
Yeah, so if we get to sit
Sorry.
just outside the door, then the studio stays open and we can just sit and meet right there. But yeah, it'll be a consultation fee. Well, once-off consultation, and we chat about what they need, what their needs are, what my needs are, or what I offer.
Yeah.
And then in that consultation, I'll make it clear that they get 3 designs.
Sorry, there's a fly in your head.
3 designs with quotes, and then
okay, so concept like sketched out. Or?
Yeah, literally like. So I'll take. So we'll sit in the meeting. Then I'll hear what they have to say. Then I go back and I produce 3 designs, like with all the bells and whistles, with their quotes. I'll send them over, and then the changes also are included. If they think this design is great, but then they want some of that design in there, and then until we find a design that's like what they really want.
Okay.
But obviously you need to put a limit on that, so you don't give them like the whole year to change their mind, because then we're never going to make anything. And then once we've decided on a design, I ask for a 50% deposit.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, for materials or at least when buying metal and things, I don't like upfronting metal on my own costs and waiting for. Yeah. So then there's a deposit, hopefully 50% most of the time, and then throughout the process, I find that some clients love being part of the process. So I sometimes do take some photos of saying, this is what it looks like now. Okay. This is where we're at.
So the in progress stuff.
Yeah, definitely keeping them in the loop. Yeah. And I guess I don't always get it right, but like the informed client is definitely a happy client. And I find that even the jewelry process, just to throw this in there, is people want to be seen and heard. And I find that I'm actually almost, let's say, 30% in the seeing and hearing business. And the jewelry business. I find that people really resonate with you when you ask about, how is your day, or like whatever, not becoming their best friend, but you're interested and curious about them and their process with you and this ring.
And also their reasons behind why they want the jewelry piece, what it means to them.
Exactly, it's so important, yeah. And then often it's very important to spend a little bit, like if I feel like another coffee or another meeting is necessary, sometimes just sitting with someone, the way they use their hands or their mannerisms or the colors or the prints that they wear, there'll be an element there that I feel needs to be brought into the ring in a texture or a saying on the inside or a color of a stone or whatever. So every detail counts. Yeah. And then, some clients I really appreciate if they've got time, but like also in the consultation I say, what's the D-Day, so that I know
how long you have.
Can we stretch the process out, or do we need to squash it in? Because even when you squash it in, if you know you need to squash it in, you can still lengthen the certain parts that are more important than others. And then basically 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, we work together and to completion. And then the ring actually, it gets wrapped so that when it arrives there, the whole uncovering and receiving of it is a massive thing. So it gets wrapped personally in the studio according to the client, with elements of the client, from the client.
So each package that you send it in is unique as well?
Very much so. There's no generic packaging whatsoever. I don't have boxes stacked ready for the jewelry pieces to go in. Everything is very personally curated from start to finish to the client.
Okay. Yeah, so that sounds like a very, very personal process.
Very intensive, actually.
And very personal, very what's the word? Very tailored to each client. So that's actually what I wanted to say. So each piece is tailor-made, really adapted to the client and their story and life elements and things like that. So when they receive it, I would imagine there's that much more meaning. It's not just a pretty thing.
And also, if I feel like there's sayings or notes, I have pieces of paper with like cool sayings on it or whatever, and I add that and a little personal note. And I like to deliver my pieces personally. I don't, if I can, I will drive. I will drive to the client's house
within South Africa.
If it's close by. Otherwise, I send the pigeon, the post pigeon.
Or 2 if it's heavy.
Yes. Or the tortoise.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I mean, knowing you, I have more or less an idea what your process is, but I think it's important just to highlight that aspect, because I think when you walk into a fancy jewelry store and you buy a diamond ring, there's not that weight of personal story and personal attachment to it, which often gives things more meaning. I mean, there's a reason why we never want to throw out a surfboard that we've had for a few years, because you've had so much experience with it, and
you've gone on some adventures with it.
Yeah, even though it doesn't look so pretty anymore, it has much more value than the shiny new one.
It's very true. It is. It's about who you surfed with, when you surfed with it, where you went, what season of life you were in. It really, I think, things carry memories, and I think that's where our value system needs to be. And I often, maybe I'm just a bit stubborn, but in the jewelry industry, the value system is diamonds and golds are valuable. Your little thread mountain is cute, but it's not so valuable in the jewelry industry. So it's interesting, maybe also secretly challenging the status quo on value systems.
Yeah, and I think, like we spoke about earlier this morning over coffee, I think it's just a matter of finding your not necessarily clients, your people, the people that appreciate your work, because there's a reason that you make it, and there are people that appreciate it, that would love it, that would resonate with it, and that I think wouldn't mind investing in it, or would love to invest in it, or have to, or they feel they can't not invest in it because of the emotion, the emotional or the immaterial value behind it. I think that's quite an important point.
You get people walking here and they don't want anything to do with the story, and then they just want something shiny, and then that's okay.
I don't. It's like anything. I mean, some.
We all have our preferences, right?
Yeah. For sure. So I think I would love to ask more questions, not ask more. I would like to chat more, but I think maybe for a first take that would be a good place to leave it. My nose is really acting up. Very sorry about that. And maybe
I think they have come down.
Huh?
They did go past.
Oh, did they go past? Okay, yeah. So then my son is off the playground, which means I'm pretty much out of time. We are
that was the red flag. Beep.
So just to end off, thanks for taking the time to chat to me. Thank you
for having me.
Yeah,
it's real special.
Yeah, it is real special. Also for someone to trust to go on what hopefully will be a podcast.
It will be
one of the first one or two people, and to trust me with that story, that information. So thank you, and hopefully we can do this again when we are here, or maybe when you're in Switzerland.
That'd be cool.
It was really, really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.